Welcome to the Why Music podcast, where we talk to independent artists about their journeys, the inspirations behind their music, and ultimately why they make music. This next artist was a girl band guitarist turned artist. Falling into the softer side of the pop world, her music is just what the doctor ordered. Welcome, Ellie.
Hello. I love that
um,
introduction. Thank you.
Thank you. I always like to start with where your story with music kind of all kicked off.
Okay. So initially I was inspired by Disney and Nickelodeon stars, like Miley Cyrus, Selena Gomez, Demi Lovato. I was always inspired by them as a little girl. So I always wanted to be a singer and an actress and a dancer, anything performing arts. And then when I was about 14, I joined a band with three of my best friends, and we played lots of different types of music, but we liked writing our own music as well. And we performed local, released a song, and I just loved being a musician. And then it's only been the past 2 years that I've been a full-time musician, where I sing at cover gigs, original gigs, I release music, perform live, and it's just my full-time career. But yeah, it's kind of been my whole life, music really, and wanting to be a singer, wanting to be on stage. I went through a little patch where I was kind of working in regular jobs and I wasn't doing music full time. But over the past 2 years has been the best time of my life, really, living the dream the best that I can. So that's kind of where it started, and this is where I am now.
What made you, or what I guess caused the shift from the band era, if you will, to kind of taking it into your own project?
Well, we were in school together, and when we left school, we just kind of stopped doing it. You know what? I don't even remember how or why we stopped, but I think we just kind of drifted apart, from being a band, and my friends kind of wanted to do their own thing, but I still wanted to do the music. Um, it was hard to go from being in a band and then to doing it completely alone. It was scary, and I think maybe I held back a lot because of like anxiety and stuff like that. But you know what, being solo, you learn a lot, and you've kind of got to do everything yourself and be your own manager. So it is hard, but it's worth it because you learn everything, and nobody can like take advantage of you because you know everything yourself. So yeah, it was hard to do alone, but I wouldn't change it now. I do enjoy having a solo career. You don't have to rely on anyone, so you know it's good for
That
that reason.
that part is very nice, especially in the world of like, like sometimes people that are of the creative nature can be a little
Yeah,
bit unpredictable and,
yeah,
aren't always, not everybody's creatively wired in the same ways. And so having to rely on people of that nature to kind of get
yeah,
whatever it is done isn't
yeah,
always the easiest thing. And I'm a big advocate for doing it yourself is just the way to do it because it's just you can control it all then, it's all on you, for better or for worse. But
exactly.
that's the tough part of
Whichever
it.
way that goes. Yeah.
Yeah. um what would you say you've learned most from that transition, besides like not even into the nitty gritty of like specific things you had to take on that were, I guess, maybe potentially previously taken care of within the band, but from an artist and like musical creative perspective, what do you think you is the biggest takeaway that you've had in your time now as being solo?
Well, it's definitely more scary because, if you're performing live, you're the center and everybody's looking at you, and, you're the one who's got to speak and introduce yourself. All eyes are on you, basically. So I'd say that's hard. But when I was in the band, I was the singer. So I think that I kind of experienced that a little bit. But it's still scary to be on a stage by yourself and kind of travel to different venues. It can get quite lonely. Writing music by yourself is a little bit more challenging. Releasing music. is more challenging. You know, it's when I'm like sitting by myself and I'm trying to promote like my music, I haven't got anybody to ask questions or get advice or what do you think? What do you think? You know, you just kind of got to figure it out all by yourself. And yeah, even you might have friends and family who can help you or give you advice, but when you're not kind of doing the job with a group of people, it just gets quite lonely, I would say. And you do everything quite isolated. I'm making it sound really bad at the minute. Just talking about the difficulties of not being in a band and doing it by yourself, especially as an independent musician without a label or a team behind you. It's very challenging and can get very overwhelming. But like I said before, you learn everything and you become a DIY musician. You just do it yourself, and you know. So you know it's a brave thing to do, but yeah, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that is worth the struggle, to put it
Yeah,
frankly. Is it's like it's yeah, there's a lot that goes with it that isn't exactly pretty or fun, or there are things that are like you said, like scary about it, but what
yeah,
comes out of it at the end makes all of those unfortunate and not so comfortable circumstances worth it, because those
yeah,
things made the result happen. So,
yeah,
uh,
exactly.
yeah. um, when did you, or I'm sorry, what do you find
Do
most
it.
often inspires your writing?
Ooh, I think every musician probably says this, but personal experience, you know, just everyday life. Um I write a lot about mental health recently in like the past year or so. And my last single was about social media and how it can affect your mental health in a negative way. My latest song that I want to release in the new year is about anxiety, just, you know, irrational fears, anxiety, and stuff like that. So I try and write music as honest as I can. And I just want people to be able to relate to it as much as they can. I want to be as real as I can and write music about all the different things that we all go through in life. So I think my writing process is just, okay, how have I felt today? You know, have I felt anxious? Let's write a song about it. Have I felt happy? Let's write a song about it. It's just anything that goes on, I'll just put pen to paper and write lyrics. And then, you know, I'll be on my guitar and I'll just come up with chords. And it's kind of my writing process is all over the place, really. I don't have a structure. It just kind of happens when it happens. So,
I was asked yesterday what like my process is like, and I'm like, well, here's the thing, there really isn't one. That's it. I you could ask anybody, and like very few people will actually have an answer to that question.
yeah,
Because it's just it's that's the creative part. It's like it's hard to structure it sometimes.
it is.
But within the world of personal experience, because yes, that is a very common answer, and it's, I mean, it makes the most sense. What do you know better than your own experience? Within that though, is there anything that you like, any common sort of ideas that you feel like come up a lot? Like I know you said mental health has been the one that's the most prevalent at the moment, but in the
Yeah.
like grand scheme of things, in terms of, you know, personal experiences, is there any like sort of events or sort of I don't know exactly how to articulate what I'm saying, but um that you pull from more than others? Like is it like, just what you're thinking about, what's like truly happening, like significant, like what kinds of, where do those ideas come from, I guess?
Okay, I have wrote about certain events in my life as well, you know, like specific events that have affected me. I've wrote songs about that. Um, I think, you know, most of us do because it's where the inspiration comes from, you know, it's where the emotion is and the feelings are. So I have done that. I think with my music, it's quite emotional and sad because it's how I let my anxieties, you know, depression that I've suffered with in the past. I think I just put it all on a page. And it's like, I've been told to journal before, like write down my feelings and stuff like that. But I find that quite hard. But when it comes to songwriting, it's a different story. If I've got a piano and I can play some music or I can play chords on a guitar, it's a completely different process and it's so much easier than just sitting there silent and journaling. So I would just say, yes, I'm definitely inspired by events that have happened, but it's more just how I'm feeling, if I'm how I'm feeling a certain day. And I'll also like I could be anywhere in the world and I could just come up with a melody in my head and I'll say, okay, that's a really nice melody. I'm gonna go and try and figure it out on guitar or piano. So yeah, the process is just it's just all over the place. There's no structure to my writing process at all.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's hard too because it's just if you get too structured, then you lose the creative part of it, and then it's just a whole thing.
Yeah.
Do
You
you
hit
think
like
that
a brick
you?
wall.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you think that you approach writing about like specific events differently than writing about just like general vibes and feelings? Like, like if it's just this is, like you said, like you compared it to journaling, like this is kind of where you're at right now, not necessarily writing about any specific thing that happened. It's just kind of where that headspace is at. Do you think that those songs kind of come to life in different forms given that they're kind of based around different types of things?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a song about a specific event and a specific person, and I think that was one of the best songs that I've written because you remember how you felt during that time, or you remember how you felt with a certain person in your life, and it's so nice to let it out into a song, and it's a lot easier than because I think I do struggle to write about feelings more than events, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Um, because it's hard to talk about your feelings. So I think it's hard to write a song based on that. But if it's an event, there's just so much you can put into a song about that, especially if it's affected you in any sort of way. So yeah, I would say there's a big difference. It's definitely easier to write songs about an event, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
Yeah. And especially with something that actually like goes a certain way, there's people involved potentially, those kinds of things lend themselves more to that kind of idea because there's already all these details built in. Like you just kind of got to piece it
That
together rather than come up with something to tell the story. The story is already there. You just got to
yeah,
kind of
eh,
work it in.
yeah. If it's already there, it's easier. It's so
Hmm.
much easier.
If you had to create a new genre around your style of music, what would you call it?
That is a hard question. Ooh, I don't. I think obviously, like with the music I write, I just want to be as honest as I can be. So it would just be honesty, as raw as you can be. Don't be afraid to be as honest with experiences that you've had, feelings that you get, what you've been through in your life, any emotion, just honesty. That's my genre, honest.
um
Yeah.
is there anything from a like stylistic perspective, like in terms of true sound and rather than contents, that you would throw on top of honesty to kind of create a more definitive combo?
That is a hard question because my genre is pop,
Hmm.
maybe soft pop. I'm struggling. I'm struggling to answer. Nobody's ever asked me that before, so that's a hard one. I don't know. I don't know. In terms of style, because I see myself as a pop artist, so I've never really thought about, I don't know, what are the styles? I've never really, experimented with other styles, so
Hmm.
I don't know. That's a hard one.
It is.
I'm
It
stuck.
is. It's the one I get the most flack for because nobody likes answering it. But I think it's fun because it's a little bit of a challenge, and you don't hear this kind of question every day. So
No, you
uh,
don't. You don't.
and there's probably reasons for that because everybody hates it. So um,
Think about that though. That's the thing. I will go away and think about that now. So it is a good question. Thank
thank
you.
you, thank you. um, is there a song that you've written that you think best embodies who you are as an artist?
Ooh.
Like your one song to sort of sell somebody on being a fan.
I think my first single probably "The Moon."
I wanna go to the moon. Maybe it would help me feel less blue. Well, it's a little bit crazy down here on earth. If I go, will there be anyone who feels the same? And just to reiterate, I'm not trying to escape. I just need some peace and quiet. If the
I released it last January, and the process when I was so I wrote it in lockdown, and it was kind of like I didn't want to escape, but I just wanted somewhere for a little peace and quiet, just to get away from the loud, overwhelming world that we live in. And I wrote I love space. So I was like, imagine if I could just go to the moon for like a day or two and just see what it's like, get some peace and quiet. And I love that I wrote it into a song, and I love the instrumentation in it. There's like a guitar riff, and when we were in the studio, it was like, when you do slide guitar, I don't, what's that called? That you put on your finger and you like slide up and down the
I know
guitar.
what you're talking about. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but we use that on like a riff in the song, and it kind of goes from like a low note to a high note, and it kind of sounds like you're going up into space. And I think I just absolutely love the instrumentation, the meaning behind the song, and I definitely would show that to people if they said, "Oh, what's your favorite song or what's your style? Who are you?" I'd show them that song. I think, yeah,
The first one. I've gotten the
yeah,
first one a few times and I'm always surprised because it's like I feel like as we continue to create new things, it's like, okay, like we get in this, oh, it's new. There's like that's what you're like fixated on. That's what you think is like automatically like the new like best one. But when people jump back to the
yeah,
first one, I'm like, that's great because a lot of people will look at their early stuff and be like, not a big fan of that anymore compared to where things
yeah,
are now. But to be able to look back on it and say, like, I still very much appreciate this for what it is and still find a lot of value in the fact that it exists is
yeah,
great.
yeah. I genuinely think that is my best song. Even my partner, he loves that song. My family and friends who listen to my music love that song. So I just think there's something special about it, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel, I feel the same way. So definitely, "The Moon," the first single.
I think it's always really cool with how kind of like, for example, with this, it's like you were talking about the slide, whatever we're calling it,
Yeah, whatever
being
it's called.
whatever it's called, um,
Yeah,
kind of emulating the metaphor experience that you're kind of telling with the story, and then also sort
yeah,
of just like painting that with the picture. When you're able to articulate the ideas in ways beyond just the lyrics and the story itself and create that even a step further into the full instrumentation and how it sounds with different little things, and even if it doesn't quite meet the eye in a way, like people might hear that song and not think, oh, this is clearly what they were trying to do here, or this is clearly representative of what's going on here. Like not many people are that
yeah,
analytical about it, but the fact that those things can kind of go hand in hand really like intentionally and paint that picture
yeah,
even further is always like that's like next level for me. Like that's always really cool to
Yeah,
see because it's like, yeah, like the instrumentation is like carrying the story itself, but it's not often like clearly aligned and directly representative of what we're hearing in the lyrics. It's
yeah.
oftentimes painting that picture a little bit further, but it's not in as much detail as something like that.
Yeah, I love instrumentation in music. I had listened to instrumental music all day. I love it. I think it's beautiful. So yeah, there's meaning in instrumental music, definitely.
Oh yeah. No, 100%. It sometimes gets overlooked because of, especially in, songs with lyrics, it's like we're not paying as much attention to the nitty-gritty. Like you'll listen to a song five
Yeah,
times and find something new about it in the sixth, you know.
yeah.
It's like those little things. But as artists and musicians, we know those little things are what makes it all the more magical.
Yeah, I listen to like, for example, Dua Lipa, Don't Start Now. I listen to that instrumental because I think the music, I think the bass is so good, and I think it is overlooked. The instrumentation of pop music specifically is overlooked, but I
Hmm.
think that song is amazing without the lyrics. So yeah, yeah, I love instrumentals definitely.
Music would be nowhere if it wasn't for the arrangements and instrumentation that can come about. It'd just be a bunch of words. Then we're basically
That would
just writing poems. Like what? No, like who
That's
wants
it.
that? um if you had to pick two or three artists that you think your music is like a combination of, who would it be?
So there's an artist called Sasha Sloan, and she inspires me to write honestly because she literally just it's like any thought that comes to her head, she'll just write it on the paper and that's the song. And I love that idea of just the raw honesty. So I definitely say she's an inspiration. Obviously, as a female artist, obviously Taylor Swift. I love how descriptive her writing is. She's like a storyteller, so I definitely want to be a storyteller as well. And then there's another singer that I love called Olivia Dean, and her music is just like it's very chilled but fun as well. And I think I'd love to write music like that. So yeah, Sasha Sloan, Taylor Swift, Olivia Dean, they're three inspirations of mine that I would love to write music like.
um I get Taylor Swift a lot. That comes as no surprise.
Yeah.
If the artist is pop and the artist is female, I think I've even had some guys say it, but
Yeah.
she's a big one. And I expect nothing less. Like that'll just that's just what's happening here now.
Wait.
But um yeah, I think I'm not familiar with Olivia Dean, but I know Sasha Sloan and her stuff is awesome. Um
Yeah.
what do you think? I know you said the honesty relating to kind of the first one, but specifically within the Taylor Swift world and the Olivia Dean world, what specific aspects of what they're doing or what they're emulating do you think kind of shows through in the music that you create?
I think with Taylor Swift, it is the descriptive lyrics. I think I do love music with a story. I think they're fascinating. So I would love to emulate that. That's why I'm inspired by Taylor Swift, as she's really descriptive. And with Olivia Dean, her style is very like it's like pop with maybe a little bit of R&B, soft pop. It's quite chilled out. It's music that I like to listen to when I need a bit of peace and quiet, a little bit of time to myself. And I want to be a musician who can do that for, people who are listening as well. Maybe they listen to me because they want to chill out or they want some relaxing music. But I also do love, like, I'm also inspired by Katy Perry as well. And her music is very loud and colourful, pink. So it's kind of like I want a mix of everything in there. It's hard. I think it's hard because, music changes so much and people like Taylor Swift has had a million different genres. So I think it's hard to decide exactly what I think I'm still looking for that, but I'm definitely inspired by a lot of different people. And I want people to listen to my music and feel safe, inspired, listened to, relatable. There's just so many different things. Sorry, that was a really long answer to that
No, not at
question.
all. Not at all. No, and I get what you're saying. I mean, yes, Taylor Swift is a great example of like she's done a variety of things, but it's still like very her. And it's
Yeah.
a big question of like, how do you maintain that sort of authenticity across different sounds and things? Because there are some people that stick very much to the kind of vibe that they've fallen into or chosen to be into. And she has kind of wavered from that. Like she was country to start, and look at her now. Um, and so it's always interesting because like you said, it is ever changing. um do you, so then kind of tying that into, do you go intentionally into, taking the songs from being a written form to a production, um making that transition, are you intentionally trying to make it sound not necessarily like is it more of like a vision that you're sort of hearing, or like different things that you think, okay, this will work, this, like I hear this kind of working for this? Or are you automatically kind of trying to take it in a particular direction as it pertains to you and your artistry as like a sound? If that makes sense.
No, yeah, it does make sense.
Okay.
The thing is, so I will say that I am a pop artist because
Hmm.
I listen to pop mostly and I write music inspired by pop. But you know what? If I find a new artist and I really love the music, I'll think to myself, "Oh yeah, I wanna make music like that." And I'll have maybe my next single. I'll say, "I want it to sound like this artist, or I want it to sound like that artist." Like my next song, I'm working with a producer, and have you heard of Maisie Peters at all?
Hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. She's really
Yeah.
cool, and I love I love her new album so much, and I love the synths. There's a song called "Lost the Breakup," and there's like an 80s synth in the song, and specifically, I was like, I want that type of synth in this song, in this production. I want it to sound like this because I love that, and a lot of people do. So if I love it and a lot of people do, maybe I'd get more attention from it, more followers, whatever, more listens. But it's also something that I would love. So I don't like I don't have a specific sound that I'm wanting to work towards. I just kind of find new sounds every day. But obviously as well, I do want to have a certain genre. I don't just want to be all over the place. I need to have a certain brand, a certain sound. I want to be recognized. So it is hard. But at the minute, I change all the time. Yeah. Me music changes all the time. I'm a mess. I'm a mess.
Well, you had me at brand. So, but yeah, I completely, like, I get it. And I
Yeah.
think that's what, like, pop has its blessings and its curses in terms of you
Yeah.
can do so many different things, but
Yeah.
you like they're with that same sort of idea that you can do all these different things. It's like you have all of this like sitting right out in front of you on the table, and it's like, oh, I could pick up any of these things and have it be what I'm doing right now, but it's like I can't pick them all up. I can't do all of these different things at once. There's it's too unlimited. It's sometimes
Yeah.
it's
It's too much.
tough. But it also, like, again, calling yourself pop and being in that world, it's freeing in terms of creativity. um
Yeah.
Oh God, I had a question to follow that up, and now I don't remember what it was. That's the worst, and that's terrible. Be in my position, having to ask questions, and then you can't think of the questions. Oh, um, so yeah. Um,
But
oh,
yeah, I'll just say that my genre is kind of pop, but I take inspiration from a lot of different artists, so
mhm.
it's kind of all over the place.
Um, I think I remembered where I was going. So with being in pop and having it be so varied, you can, like you said with the Maisie Peters synth thing, it's like, oh, like do this could perform well because, like, we know people like her stuff. This is,
Yeah.
this is happening right now in pop. Like, we're synths are big anyway, but like that specifically is also kind of being brought back. We're at that period where those things are like now cool again. Um, but so do you, how do you sort of find balance between making those sorts of decisions for the purpose of how you think they will be received versus just what feels natural to you, true to you, what feels like something that you would make as a creative choice, regardless of the repercussions, I guess?
You know what? it is hard because obviously as musicians we want to be noticed, so we want to put out stuff that we think people will like. Um, it's hard to balance, definitely, because I am very much a people pleaser, and I want people to like my music. We all want multiple streams, multiple fans, but I definitely say that the music that I am releasing is still the music that I want to release as well. So I think it's just not losing sight of what you want, but also, yeah, making music that you know people will like because, you want to be noticed. Another hard question. It's another difficult question because it's hard to, sometimes I am too much of a people pleaser that I will kind of fade away from what I want to do and I'm just trying to please everyone else. But I think it's really important to not lose sight of what you want because you will always find your people and your fan base because people love so many different types of music, so many different genres, and there's a kind of a crowd in every genre, isn't there? So it's hard to balance, but I would say just I try not to lose sight of what I want to do, as well as trying to please people as well. So that was a terrible answer, but hard question.
No, I get it. And I am a firm believer as well that, like, if the music is good enough in like the quality of it in terms of like, it sounds like it was well put together, it's only a matter of time before it finds its home in the right like set of ears. Because I like, especially anything that's pop-esque will find its little corner of the world
Yeah.
to live in. How big that corner
Always.
is, who knows? But there are people out there that will enjoy it if you're making it and
Yeah.
it's of a certain quality standard. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I think it's hard because it's like you want what you're doing to do well, but you also want it to do well just for the sake of it being this authentic creative work rather than doing it
Yeah.
intentionally for the results. That's it's the
Yeah.
dangerous game to play, but it's the world we're
It's
living
I know.
in. So
Yeah, it is. It is the world. It's changed.
Mhm. What is an outside passion of yours that you feel impacts who you are as an artist?
Ooh, these questions are so good. Like, this so like making me think a lot. Um, hmm. Such a hard question. Because would you say like hobbies and stuff, like any hobby
Yeah.
at all?
Yeah. Like that kind of thing.
See, you know what? I love yoga. Um, but I don't know if that inspires me as a musician. But it is, it's a good place to kind of, I suppose when I say that I like to write music, where I want people to kind of, when they're having a rough day, they can kind of turn to my music and it can be a little break for them or some peace and quiet. And I'd say yoga is kind of like that as well. So maybe I take inspiration from doing such a relaxing form of exercise, maybe. Um, in school, I used to love drama, dancing, and I think that's all inspired me to be a musician as well and kind of put myself out there, be who I am. I just love the performing arts world. So yeah, hard question because I've never thought about that before.
Mm-hmm.
Like outside hobbies that inspire me as a musician today. I've never really thought about that before. But yeah, I would just say, yoga, dancing, acting, I love to do all stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, it really just kind of gets into, because it's the music that we create is just a reflection of thoughts and our own sort of experiences. And it's going to be filtered through these sort of ideas of what, like our interests are or what we spend our time doing and stuff like that. And so, like you said earlier, like you mentioned the word relax and everything before. Yoga can be, at least in a lot of cases, a more chill thing to do. And I think, the performing arts stuff goes hand in hand with being a creative,
Yeah, exactly.
that's
Yeah,
that's it, if you're in one, you're just as likely to have your hand in like another form
yeah,
of the
exactly.
performing arts and whatnot. And so it's always cool to see what kind of answers people will come up with, because sometimes it's like they kind of like are like right there, and then other times it's like completely out of left field, and I'm like, interesting, but you made it tie back, so it works.
Yeah,
But no, I think
it's
yoga
giving
is
different answers.
is yeah, yoga is fitting in terms of like what you said earlier and how kind of those vibes go together. But it's always interesting because I feel like I usually can connect the dots of where people
Yeah,
are trying to go with it once they say the thing, but they're still like, I don't, that's feels like the answer, but I don't really know how to tie it back together. So it's always interesting to see what people come up with.
yeah. But
Um,
also like, sorry,
no, no, no,
I'll
go
just say,
ahead.
as well as wanting, when I talk about chilled out, relaxing music,
Hmm.
I've also, like I said, I've got inspirations like Katy Perry, for example, and I also want to make fun music that you
Hmm.
can dance to as well. So that's when I say like everything's kind of all over the place with me and the path I want to take.
Hmm.
I suppose I just want people to enjoy the music I write overall, enjoy it, relate to it. So yeah, just
Yeah.
wanted to add that in,
Oh,
guys.
no,
You
no,
know,
absolutely, absolutely. Um, and I think I mean, that's the best kind of goal to have, is it's like, I want you to find value in this because I found value in creating it, you know?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, I recently started doing this thing where I have a artist from the previous episode write a question for the artist from the following episode. So from last week's artist, the question is, if you could make a whole song with one acoustic instrument, what would it be and why?
One acoustic instrument, the whole song. Oh, I would say either guitar or piano, with because I feel like they can be very emotional instruments. Um, I love piano ballads, and
Mm-hmm.
I've wrote a lot of them myself. So piano or guitar, because I am a very when I play live, I'm always acoustic with my guitar. It's me and my guitar. That's what it's like. So yeah, either piano or guitar. Nice question. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. And then what would your question be for the next one?
Oh, oh, okay. If you could set up a music festival, who would you have on the lineup?
That I feel like could be a very long list. Do you want to give me a relative number here, or we might be here all next episode?
I was gonna say, so who would you have as your headline, and then maybe three more artists under them?
Okay.
So from one, two, three, four, who would be a headline, and then who would be the other three artists before that headline? If that is a
Okay.
good question.
That's cool. I mean, that
Was
just
super
kind of, yeah.
specific there.
It'll give people an opportunity to give more than just the three artists that I asked for
Yeah,
earlier
yeah,
on, because everybody's always like, you're making me pick just three. Like the first two are
yeah.
easy, but filling that third spot is just like there's like six different people that could go
Now,
there. So You're giving them the freedom that I won't allow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm giving them extra.
Oh
There you
yeah.
go.
What is it that you think sets you apart from other independent artists?
Ooh. um, so it's that's the thing I struggle with is I'm still trying to find that unique selling point. Obviously honesty, but I think most musicians want to be honest within the music. Um, but I think yeah, it's just being as raw as I can and writing about everything I've been through, every emotion I've had, everything I've suffered with. That's what I want. But I think I'm still trying to find that, still trying to find why I'm different and how I'm different. And I think that's okay. Sometimes it takes time to really find that. But as of now, yeah, it's just about, as I've mentioned, it's just about honesty, and not feeling embarrassed as well or like shy away from the honesty. Yeah, I think that's what I want right now, but I'm still trying to figure it out as well.
Which is all valid with, how saturated music has become. It's
Yeah,
like anything that you could put on that list, there's probably someone that sort of shares that. So it's almost really like the combination of X, Y, and Z that is what's that sort of unique selling point.
yeah,
But I mean, I think if there's anything to lean on, being honest and genuine and open is a great sort of thing to lean on.
yeah,
Even if there are other people that are sort of sharing in that mindset. I think that that is what people are looking for in music in a lot of
so,
ways now. So that's a great thing to have as your sort of leading point. And then it's just a matter of piecing the rest of it together. But um, yeah. What impact do you ultimately want to have with your music and with your artistry?
I definitely want to inspire people, like I've been inspired by my inspirations. I've always wanted to do that, inspire others. I always want to. I want to be I want my music to be a space for people when they need it, um, to find relatability and to kind of have an escape. And yeah, kind of just everything I've said about honesty and wanting to be relatable and stuff like that.
Yeah, and again with the honesty thing, it's like I can tell that it is of a genuine nature, because it's like it's not like something you just touched on. It's like it keeps coming up. That's how relevant
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
important it is to everything that you're doing, which is again very important and very much what people are looking for. And like we established, it's just a matter of finding the people that are looking for just that thing.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you answered this question before I even asked it. Like you want people to enjoy it and everything, and that's if you're answering questions before I'm even asking them, I think we're good. you know,
Yeah.
you're all over it. So no, that's the most that's the best kind of answer you can give. Is just like it's with that intention. It's not an afterthought. That's first and foremost what I want people to receive. It's like we're already thinking with the audience in mind. It's not just, oh, I'm making this and I hope you enjoy it too. It's like
There's
it's
actually,
that's
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
package deal.
Well, I also want people to just know that, like, if there's something that they're going through in life, they're not alone because I'm also sharing struggles that I go through within the music. So it's just because with the singers that I listen to, it's a place for me to kind of take a step back from the world, and I just want it to do the same for other people. So, you know, therapy almost, music therapy. That's it.
um yeah, no, that's the in my opinion, that's the right kind of intention to have. It's like,
Yeah.
and that's what makes it like rewarding in a secondary nature, in terms of like the first time you kind of are writing it, that's what's the relief. That's where you're expressing it and getting it out and just kind of letting it exist in the way it needs to exist. But then having it be received by people in that same sort of way is like, not only am I like getting it off my chest, but I'm like essentially getting it off of other people's chests as well,
Yeah.
just through that same process, which is just really cool in itself.
That's a really nice way to put it, yeah, like as well as me getting it off my chest, other people might feel a bit of a release as well because they're like, oh, somebody who's singing this song knows how it feels to go through this or to go through that. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly basically what you said about listening to other people's music. It's always
Yeah,
interesting because the way that a lot of times when artists are talking about the music they listen to, it also correlates to what they want output with the music that they're creating. It's like everything is just this like full circle passing the torch sort of cycle of things.
yeah.
So I think that brings us to the last question, which is ultimately the concept behind the podcast, which is why music?
Why music? Because music is everything. It is everything, We listen to it when we're happy, we listen to it when we're sad, we listen to it when we're angry, feeling depressed. We listen to it through anything in our lives. It's everywhere. It's been around for what, thousands of years, music, and it's like therapy, poetry. It's everything. That's why. It's just everything. But why I've chosen it for my job is because I'm a very creative person and I just want to let it out. And I've chosen music as the way to do that. And to be honest, it's better than any other job in the world. It's so fun. You meet amazing people, like-minded people. You get to do podcasts like this and express everything, answer amazing questions. So that's why, because it's just fun and different. It's not boring. Every day is different. Yeah, longest answer ever, but
Not
that's
at all. Not at all. We'd be here for another hour if we were talking longest answers. But yeah. And I appreciate the little compliment slipped in there about the questions.
Oh yeah.
I try to write good ones, but some people don't always like it when I make them answer certain things. But
I think it's so good
it's
because
the hard ones. It's the hard ones.
Yeah, it's important though. It's important to think,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Think outside the box, something
Yeah.
different. I like it. I like it.
Thank you. No, and I think the creative part is as much as like it can be a challenge at times in terms of building it to a sustainable point or finding some sort of flow and consistency in it in itself, because creativity and consistency don't naturally go together. It's not always the easiest thing to be like, okay, I have to do like these things, and like creating is a part of what's paying the bills for me now, and so like we need to do these things in these different ways. But there's also a lot of beauty in being able to be that empowered with what you're creating and have it get to the point where it's like, okay, like the things that just kind of popped into my head and were put into a computer because I wrote it and made it happen is like something that people are like enjoying, and something that I'm able to like make a living off of is just bonkers, like that's crazy. If you think about it in like where the hell that came from in the first place, it's like you're trying to tell me that that's a financial resource. What?
I know.
What?
This way. I know, and it's fun. It's fun to make money that way. I never thought I would do it because it is a risk to kind of do it full time and try and make money that way, but it's worth it. It's just so worth it in the end.
Yeah.
And it's always different. Every day is different, and every day you do something new and something, to take it outside of your comfort zone. So I would just say to anybody who wants to do anything creative, really give it a go. Just do one thing that will get you into that career, or just try anything, honestly. That's what I'm saying to people. Just try. Just try.
Yeah. 100%. It's like,
Yeah.
what do you have to lose? Like, don't put everything out on the line, but like, give it a shot. Because
Yeah, like just a
if
little
you
bit.
want it that bad, you can make it work. You know,
Yeah,
if you're
yeah,
willing to work for it, it'll pay off.
yeah, it will.
Yeah. I think that brings us to the end of this episode of the Why Music podcast. Check back again next week for another conversation with another independent artist. Thanks for listening.